Welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. Everyone who knows basketball understands that it is a game of runs. A team can be steamrolling another team, and you know in the back of your mind, it's a game of runs. It's a game of runs, so you can't get too high, you can't get too low. You have to be thinking, even if you have a substantial lead, you have to be thinking, this is a game of runs. This team is too good not to make a comeback. So when Caitlin Clark got her team going, when she started raining threes, making passes, and bringing the energy that we hadn't seen in several games because she had been out, we're like, I know this looks good right now. This team's got the energy. Their defense is better. Things are looking better. But this is New York, undefeated, defending champions, and really any team can come back, put together a run. So your job is to try to keep that from happening. But when it inevitably does happen, being able to sustain that and then go possession by possession, stop by stop, score by score, so that you can get that momentum back. So when the Fever went into halftime, we're thinking, oh man, can we just keep playing? Can we just keep playing the second quarter and not cross over the third quarter? Because traditionally in the third quarter, it's not looking that good for this team. And especially so last year. This year, they've had a couple good third quarters, but the previous game against Atlanta, I think they only had 9 points in the third quarter. It was terrible. It was like the way it used to be, these third quarter woes. Well, Caitlin Clark in the post-game conference, she credited Stephanie White for their ability to turn it around because sure enough, the New York Liberty went on a run out of halftime into the third quarter, and we were like, oh my goodness, here we go. But Stephanie White deposited something in them, according to Caitlin Clark in the post-game conference, that enabled them to turn this thing around. So I want to talk about how she credits her there and also gives her credit for the overall ability for Caitlin Clark to do what she did. And of course, Stephanie White show Caitlin some love also. So we're going to go over to the Indiana Fever's YouTube page and listen to what I'm talking about that is responsible for them putting the kibosh on that third quarter run that New York was on.
Caitlin, for you, was there a moment, whether it's a three-pointer, whether it's a turnover, whether it's waiting on the bench somewhere, that sticks out in your mind just as whatever play, sequence, interaction with a teammate from today, something just lingering?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the way we responded, like we just talked about when they went on that run in the third quarter, and our coaches told us at the start when we were in the locker room at halftime is like, we already used too many timeouts. We don't really have timeouts to use. So don't let them go on a run. And then we let them go on a run. And we knew like Steph wasn't calling one there. Like we had to figure out how to play through it and go on a run of our own. And we talked about this in the locker room. I think that's like kind of where we grew today. In the past, like that's kind of where we would crumble. That's exactly where we crumbled in Atlanta in our last game. It was tight at halftime. We come out in the third quarter and we kind of fall apart. But today we really stuck together. We went on our own run. Somebody said we went on like a 25-3 run or something like that. And, just proud of everybody, whether they were coming off the bench. I thought Sid was fantastic today. She makes 2 huge threes for us in the second half. Soph was fantastic. People just made really big plays down the stretch. So, yeah.
Now, what Caitlin said there is key. What does a coach do at halftime? Let you know exactly what you're looking at going into the second half. Don't let them get on the run. Why? Because I cannot call timeouts. We've already used too many timeouts. You're going to have to make sure that you don't let them go on a run. Well, they did what they often do in the third quarter, and they let them go on a run. But what did she say? I knew that Stephanie White was not going to call a timeout. So we were going to have to figure it out. And that's the thing when you're leading a team, when you're coaching a team, and when you're playing on a team. There are times when you want a quick timeout. You just listen. You came out, you gave up 6 easy buckets or whatever it might have been in any given game, and you want the quick timeout. There are other times when you say, I don't want to call a timeout because I want to train them to figure it out. In this situation, it was articulated to them, we don't have timeouts to waste. We may need what we have. So if you get yourself in a hole, if you find that you're letting them go on the run, I don't even know what the run was there, but we were going in the chat. It was like, oh my goodness. When you know in your mind, we have to come together and put a stop to this. We're not getting bailed out with a timeout. We're not burning a timeout. We're going to be professional basketball players. It's a game of runs, and it's also a game of stop the runs. And this is what's going to help them as they progress toward their goal, which is to win, to get to the playoffs, to win a championship. Right now, dealing with the Commissioner's Cup. In that case, to win a game against the New York Liberty. So you figure it out. And like Caitlin said, they ended up turning it around and going on a run of their own because their mindset, their mentality was, we're not getting bailed out. We're going to have to work it out. And that's exactly what they did. Caitlin also credited the coach in the post-game conference, not the post-game conference at the table, but courtside. She was asked, she was being interviewed, and she said that Stephanie did a great job with the rotations. And I noticed that as well because Caitlin was, she had, like I said, you try to simulate game time situations in practice and coming back from an injury, but it's really difficult to do even when everyone is healthy. Caitlin hasn't been working all out. So she's like, she did a good job with the rotations, got her some rest. Caitlin in the post game at the table did say at one point she did ask for a sub herself. She was sucking air a little bit there. And so, yeah, the rotations were good, being able to utilize her smart in terms of her minutes in her first time back. And then she also talked about them being able to run, which is fever basketball. And that's her acknowledgement that with her back on the court, then they're able to work their game plan. With Caitlin out, you gotta, as a coach, you can't have everybody running like Caitlin because they're not Caitlin. You're gonna find when we see that a lot of times we saw that a little bit before Ari, because Ari she's pretty good in terms of pace, but you don't want other people trying to run like you do with Caitlin. So when Caitlin talks about them being able to play fever basketball, she means it felt good to be back and to get stops. She kept saying we have to get stops. She said that during the mid-game interview. I mean, they were talking to her. They get a lot of interviews in. During the mid-game interview, she said, listen, for us, it starts on defense, and which is something I've talked about a lot. If you want to run, then you have to get stops. And their defense was so much better than it had been. And so, as Caitlin was saying, we were able to play fever basketball because we were playing better defense. And of course, because she's on the court. When she's not there, I've shared many times, it's a different team. And as a coach, you have to work with the personnel that you have. And so you're with Caitlin out, you got to try to kind of work with the personnel you got, and try to keep yourself in the win column and hopefully not get down too far. And then when Caitlin comes back, as Caitlin said, they were able to do what the coaches said they always wanted to do, and that is to play fast basketball. You need the right personnel, you need the stops, and then we saw what happened. And it was not only a good win, but it was an exciting win for this team. Now, Coach Stephanie also paid tribute to Caitlin as well, so we're going to take a look at that. Her post-game comments about Caitlin.
Hey, so, was there one play by Caitlin, a three, a stretch pass, maybe a turnover, or the technical, or a less glamorous play that just stands out in your mind for whatever reason as like, wow, you step back and said, wow, she's back, or good to have her back kind of thing?
Well, I don't know how many threes she had in the first quarter, but yeah, that's a wow moment, certainly. She's got it, right? Like she's got it. And being able to harness those moments when it's really rolling and being able to be patient in the moments where you're trying to get it rolling, I think is a growth process. So certainly, you know, those first few threes. And then the turnover where she missed Damaris Dantas right beside her and tried to throw it to somebody else in the corner. You know, maybe I'll introduce her to Dee Dee in the locker room. But you know, where again, then we have the conversation about not making the home run play, just making the easy one, and she managed the game impeccably from there on out. And so oftentimes it's just, you know, pointing out the moments. She's going to continue to grow in those areas, but she's special, right? And she's special.
A lot of things to take from this game, from them having the adversity that they've had to deal with, and then have some players back, and to be able to come out with some energy and to get down a little bit in the game and then just turn this thing around. And for them also to go into the half and then come back out and find themselves in situations where they're allowing their opponent to go on a run again. And then remembering what this coaching staff has said, like, we're not calling timeouts, which means we're going to have to step up. And then them not just remembering it, but actually doing it and just putting together a solid performance. And yet there's a lot of things that they can do better. And so it's growth, it's growth, it's growth. It's game by game by game. And they, like I said, they've had so much adversity throughout, players injured, coach having to be away, and then another coach stepping up, and also then DeWanna Bonner being out. And there's just been a whole lot. But it's one of the things Stephanie White said in that interview is that they encourage each other. They have their backs, and that's always good to have. That's the culture that you want. And so, yeah, I like to see that. I like to see Caitlin crediting the coaching staff, and also the coaching staff recognizing Caitlin's strengths, what she does well, what she wants to do better. It's all in the making of a team. So once again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you did so. If you have, you know, I appreciate you. Give this video a thumbs up. I will catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.